Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries and exit planning advisors from across the country. Joining me on this segment is Jamie Hilton. He's the founder of the Hilton Group. Jamie, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
Jamie, tell us a little bit about your work and tell us specifically who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
So the way I characterize our business, Mark, is we work as a chief financial officer for a small number of very affluent families. And our job is to help them make smart decisions so they can spend a lot more time doing what they love. The nature in which we do our business, you know, I'm here in Newport, Rhode Island, and I actually do quite a bit of sailing. And I've actually done a lot of navigating in long distance races and short races. And half the job of the navigator is to keep the boat off the rocks. And so that's, metaphorically speaking, what we do for our clients is help them understand the conditions that they're in, where their blind spots might be, where the dangers or the reefs might be, and also what's the best path to get from here to where they're going. And for folks who are, you know, have owned businesses, it's a little bit tough sometimes because they're used to being in charge of their own company, and they identify risk with what they've been doing at work and the type of things that we help them with a little bit outside of their comfort zone sometimes. So our job is to help them understand where the risks are and help them make smart decisions.
Business owners and entrepreneurs, sure, they're great at growth and growth. But when it comes time to exiting their business and planning for it, how much thought have they put into it?
Well, the statistics would show that actually very little, because a lot of folks, and I know a few right now are great clients, you know, they see themselves, you know, leaving their business feet first, right? And so, but the statistics would show that the gross majority of business owners have not really completely thought through their exit plan. And so getting them in some cases to think along those lines and then actually address some of the issues, you know, can be a bit of a challenge.
Since folks aren't really aware, they don't know what they don't know, what are some of the dangers that occur or the things that could happen if entrepreneurs and business owners aren't properly prepared or have a plan for exiting?
I think the biggest thing is really understanding what their cost of living is and how much the money they need to have, you know, for an income to live on in retirement. Because in many cases, you know, some of their living expenses are covered by the business. It's you know, there's accounting, right? And there's what you're living on. And so as a business owner, it may be good practice to have some of your expenses that may or may not be personal be, you know, part of your expense structure. Sometimes it's hard to extrapolate out what a person's actually living on. And then the other thing is understanding how big is the pool of capital that they need to have. So therefore, what they need to get out of their business when they sell their business to have enough to live on.
You know, we're coming out of this recent pandemic and it's affected businesses in different capacities. How has this affected the exit planning side of it? Have you seen anyone had to make any changes, or how has this impacted planning for exit? Have you seen?
I think that depends very much on the business, because I can think of one particular case. You know, a client has a HVAC business, and in the beginning of the pandemic, everything was going great. In fact, they suffered very little. You know, their order flow didn't stop, their backlog didn't slow down, and they were feeling pretty good about it. As time went on, their cost structure changed dramatically, and since they were thinking about selling the business, they didn't think along the lines of selling the business. They thought as an ongoing business going concern. And so some of the decisions that they made were probably the right thing to do in terms of eating costs and that sort of thing, but it made the business very, very difficult to sell. And so we actually had to withdraw, you know, come off the market, because in the long run, they did the right thing, but in the short run, some of the decisions that they had to make were not conducive to selling the business. On the other hand, I just spoke to a client who is a mergers and acquisition attorney yesterday, and he is flat out. So there's still a strong appetite for businesses to be acquired, and there's still, a lot of businesses that are being sold, and there's still a lot of capital out there to make acquisitions with.
Jamie, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners plan for their exits? How did you get started?
Mark, my road into being a financial advisor would not be the conventional road. It's not something that I've thought all my life, gosh, I really want to be a financial advisor. I sort of fell into it. I'd worked on the commodities exchange from about 1983 or 84 through 1981. And I realized that was not my destiny. And so I got a job at Shearson Lehman Brothers as a financial consultant in those days. Turns out, through an act of fate and good fortune, I really like what I do. And I think one of the things, and I've worked with a number of coaches and folks who have, helped me over the years. One of the things I really like to do is I like helping people, and I like solving problems. And so, I've been at this now since '91, and I'm energized to come into the office every day. I really am, and I like problem solving, and I like helping folks. That's what gives me energy, and we can really, in our role, we can have a significant positive impact for a family and for a business owner, for that matter.
That's terrific. Jamie, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share with business owners listening now that are considering exiting their business either now or in the near future?
I think that the old adage, failing to plan is planning to fail, might be cliche, but I can tell you unequivocally that the more preparation and the more forethought and the more really identifying strengths and weaknesses of a business from the standpoint of what's the owner going to need and how are they going to transition out, and what is the plan. If it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. And if you haven't stress tested, and I think that stress testing, what I mean by that is actually going through it and picking holes in it and seeing what is the weakness in my plan and identifying the blind spots, takes time, takes effort. But I think that really increases the probability of a successful exit, that everybody's happy, immeasurably.
For business owners listening and tuning in now that would love to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, my email address is james.hilton@ubs.com. My direct dial phone number, and I invite you to call me, is 401-843-8818. That's 401-843-8818. Or you can look us up. Our website is the Hilton Group at ubs.com. And so if you Google Jamie Hilton and you find the Hilton Group at UBS, that's us, and be happy to reach out. And candidly, just in closing, Mark, our process, our business is based on doing a lot of discovery and financial planning before we make any recommendations about anything. So we can help a business owner identify if they're prepared financially to make the move before they, decide to pull the ripcord or not.
Jamie, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you stopping by and sharing with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. It's great to meet you, and hopefully our paths cross again. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been an honor.
That was Jamie Hilton, founder of the Hilton Group. And this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.